Hi students, welcome back to our class. So now we are going to see mutability or immutability of arguments, parameters and function calls. So you all must know that what is meant by immutable. Mutable in the sense whatever value we are changing in the data type, no, in a variable, no, that way value need to be assigned in the place itself. That is only then only it is called as a mutable data type. So example, lists and dictionaries are example for mutable data types. And immutable means what? Immutable, whatever changes we are making in any variable, that will not get reflected in the memory address. Okay, so that new value will be indicated in the different address only. So examples, other types other than this lists and dictionaries, integer, float, and Boolean, all those other data types, no, comes under tuples. All those are comes under immutable data types. So when you are passing mutable or immutable values, no, in arguments or parameters, that is in function call, we will send the arguments. Okay, so that is in called calling function, no, we will send the arguments from the main program. And in the function definition, we have some of the variables. That variables only called as what? Parameters. Okay, so we all know that parameters means the variables which are used in the definition of the function is known as parameters. That is in subprogram, whatever variables in a we have used in the program, no, in the subprogram, no, that is called as parameters. In the main program, whatever variables we are using, that is only known as arguments. Okay, so when you are passing values through arguments and parameters to a function, mutability and immutability also plays an important role there, because according to mutability of or immutability of that argument or variable, we will get a results in a different way. Okay, for mutable types we will get results in a different format, and immutable type we will get an answer in a different way. So let us check some of the sample codes and how these codings are going to be, that is how the variables, no, mutable and immutable arguments are allocating the addresses in the memory. That memory environments that also we will see now with the help of the diagrams. Okay, so now we will see first example, first code, that is passing an immutable type value to a function. So immutable type value in the sense integer, float, all those comes under immutable type only. So when you are sending immutable value type for the argument, when it is passed to a function, how it is reflecting or what kind of changes it is going to make in the main program print statement, that let us see now. Okay, so now first the statement is in this program, first statement is what? Definition of my function one, inside the parenthesis a. So this a here, it is called as parameter because it is used in the subprogram. That is my function one is the subprogram name or function name. Okay, so this line 1 to 6 is called a subprogram, and 7 to 11 are called the main program. Okay, so main program started here. This is indicated with the help of the comment line. So always comment line starts with what symbol? Hash symbol only. Okay, so multi-line comments only are enclosed within triple quotes. Okay, so now number 8, that is line number 8, is having the first statement that is going to be executed first. So now num is equal to 3. Number is assigned with variable is assigned with, this is an argument. This is called as what? Argument. So whatever variables we are using inside the main program, so that 7 to 11 is called the main program. So whatever variables are arguments we are using in the main program, that is known as called as arguments. So in a subprogram, that is from 1 to 6, we have subprogram or function. Inside that, whatever variables we are using, that is called as parameters. I think now you are clear with what is meant by parameter and arguments. Okay, so now num is an argument and a is a parameter. Okay, so now num is assigned with 3. In 9th line, we are printing calling my function 1 by passing num with value num. That means this statement is going to be printed in the screen. That is, number is going to be passed to my function 1 function name with the value what? 3. Okay, so now the function call is made. This is only known as function call. So always function call will not have any semicolon or command all will not be given at the end. Function definition only will be having a colon at the end. Okay, so by this we can understand that which is function definition, which is function call. So this is known as function call. So now the function call is made. Now we are calling this function. Why we are calling this function? In order to do some kind of task. Okay, so now what task is performed at line number 4? We will check it later. So now my function 1 is passed with the value 3. So that num is copied here in this parameter. So here num is a immutable type and the a is also immutable type only. Okay, so a is now copied with the value 3. Inside my function 1, value received in a as 3. Now 3 is changed to 3 plus 2, 5. So value of a now changes to 5, returning from my function. So now the my function 1 is now completed. The entire execution completed for this subprogram. Now we are moving back to this last print statement. Okay, so now num is printed as 3 only. It will not get reflected whatever value we have updated in a now it is referring number 5. So 5 is the different value. A number is the having value 3. 3 is assigned in one address, that is immutable value, because it is an integer, so it is an immutable type of value. And now a is having 5. 5 will be assigned in different memory address. So 5 memory address and 3's memory address will not be same. So a will be referring to some other address. Now num is referring to some other address. Okay, so that's why it won't get reflected when we are passing immutable type of value. That updated value will not get reflected back in the main statement. Okay, let us see the diagrammatic way how. Let us see the output first and then some explanation they have given. So calling my function, this statement is getting executed first and then function call is made, then whatever is given in the print statement from line number 2 to 6, everything is getting printed here. See here, value of a now changes to not 8, it is 5. Please change it as 5. So the value got changed from 3 to 5 inside function but not get reflected in the main statements. So see, you can see the value of num here is not reflected. Whatever updations we have made in the function, that is not getting reflected because now a is referring to 5. 5's address is different address. As you can see that the function my function 1 received and passed the value in the parameter a, changed the value of a by performing some operation on it. So we have done one operation, that is a is equal to a plus 2. Inside my function 1, the variable value got changed, but after returning from my function, the originally passed variable, no, the originally passed variable num remains unchanged. Okay, so the value of a got changed, but after returning from my function 1, the originally passed variable, that is num, no, remains unchanged. It is not at all changed. It is having the same value. Let us see how the memory environments are created for the above code. Okay, so let us see the diagrammatic way of how the values are reflected in the num variable and num argument, and a is the parameter. Okay, so in the parameter and argument, how the value of mutable type is reflected or not reflected. Okay, so now first in the beginning, this num is the global environment variable. So look at here, num is the global environment variable. So it is referring number 3. It is assigned to address 800. So now reference count is 1. 800 is referred by only one variable. Now a is also referring to at line number 10 when the function call is made, number is received in the parameter a, and for lines 1, 2, 3 environment remains the same. So for line number 1, 2, 3, after 4 only the value got changed. A is reflected with the changed with a plus 2, that is 5. Okay, so now a and num both are referring to the same address, that is 800. So reference count will be true. Okay, now see the global environment's num remains unaffected from changes to variable a of my function 1. So now a is affected with a plus 2. So now a is referring to what address? 832. So 5 is located in 832 memory address. So due to its immutable type, integer values, it's going to be assigned in different address only. So when this function call is over, okay, there is my function oneness gets over, the control returns to main part at line number 11, and the local environment no, of my function is fully going to be removed. See, this full part is going to be removed. So now we won't have any value for A. A is not at all there. So automatically num will be what? Which address, memory address it was referring initially, the same address, and its value only will get printed. Okay, so at line number 11, when num's value is printed by Python, prints 3 as the number, remains unchanged in its scope, and thus always remain 3 only. So now you understood. So you just saw how Python processed an immutable data type when it is passed as argument. Let us see what happens inside the memory if you pass mutable type such as list. So now we are going to see when we are passing list mutable type, what will happen. So let us see the example, next example. Okay, so whatever changes now we are making in the list, that is going to be reflected in the main part also. Okay, in subprogram or in function, whatever changes we are making for that argument, or parameter, that parameters changes no, will get reflected in the list also, because both will be referring to same address only. Okay, so the changes will be made in place. Okay, so now let us see which is main statements, from where main statements is started from line number 7 to 10. Okay, 7 to 10 we have main program segment, and 1 to 6 is a up to return statement, it is a subprogram or function. Okay, so now list 1 is initially assigned with only one single value, that is 1. Okay, so print list before function call, only 1 is printed here, and then the function call is made. So that list 1 is passed. What is the value of list 1? 1. Okay, so the 1 is passed here. So my list is the parameter. Okay, so inside the called function now, list received is my list. What is my list? 1. Okay, so now my list is updated with my list of 0. Okay, 0 means what? In the same address, this 1 is going to be now changed as 3. Okay, so 1 plus 2, 1, my list of 0 plus my equal to, my list of 0 is equal to my list of 0 plus 2. So my list of 0 is now having the value 1. So 1 will be added with 2. So what is the value of my list of 0 now? 3. Okay, so the 3 is printed here. That value also returned here. So this 3 is copied, and the 3 is printed here. So we can see here output. So 3 only got printed, it is reflected, it got reflected. Whatever changes we have made, it got reflected. So now we will see the memory environment also. Okay, so after when you print its value after returning from function, it shows the changed value. The reason is clear. List is a mutable type. Okay, and thus changes made to it are reflected back in the caller function also. So which function is called now? In that called caller function also, the changes and all reflected. Okay, because list is the mutable type. So let us see the memory environment for how the memory environments are created for the above mutable type list. Okay, so now list 1 is initially referring to the address to 25,000. So in that 25,000 memory address, we have only one value, so that it is indicating as index as 0. So in 0th index of list, we have the value that is referring to the address 556. So 556 we have integer values, so that number is assigned in 556 address. So now when it is moving on to function call, local environment for my function 2 is created. So in that my list is another list name, that is parameter name. So in that parameter we have the initial value as 25,000, the memory address initial value is 1 only. Now after executing the line number 9, no, my function 2 gets called. See when line number 7 to 9 is going to be, okay, let us see here. So when my function 2 is called, inside that, at line 4, my list of zeros value changes to 3. That is my list of 0 plus equal to 2. That means 1 plus 2 is what? 3. So 3, now it is referred by the same address 25,000. Now it is referring to 3, value 3. That address is 588. So actually the list 1 and my list both are referring to same address only, even when the argument is copied to this parameter. This is known as argument. This list 1 is known as argument, and the my list of local environment, no, that is the function my function 2 inside that list is created, so that both the lists are referring to the same address, that is 25,000. So if we are making changes in this my list, that is in parameter which is available in the my function 2, that is getting reflected back in the list 1 also. So even when the local environment got removed, okay, so gets over, so now list 1 only will be available in the global environment, that is referring to same memory address 25,000 only. So it is referring to now value 3. So initially list 1 was having the value 1. So after we called that my function 2 function, okay, the list value got updated with 2. So 3 plus 1 plus 2 will become what? 3. So the 3 is now printed. Okay. So now let us see some other code, that is sample code. Passing mutable type value to a function by adding and deleting items, we will check it. Okay, so our last example we have seen just by passing only a single value, that is the number is passed with 3 and a is equal to a plus 2 only we have done. Now we are going to send that is list data type only. In that list data type, after adding or removing items, how the whether that function, no, local environment parameters, whether values of local environment parameters getting reflected back in the main function, main program segment or not, we will check it now. Okay, so now the main program is started here at line number 10. Okay, so at line number 10 to 13 we have main program. So initially list is having the value 1, and then my function list is called, and before that that list value is printed. So what is the list value? Initially the before the function call 1 only. So then when the 1 is copied to list 1 is copied to my list, that is parameter, inside the called function now my list value is printed, that is list received is 1 only. So now the my list is updated with 2. Okay, append 2, that is 1 after 2 will get appended. Then extend 5 comma 1. So after that 1 comma 2, 5 comma 1 is going to be added. Okay, so the list is going to be extended by another 2 values, that is 5 comma 1. And then list after adding some elements, that is my list now is updated with 1251. This is the answer. Okay, now we need to remove 5. So now we are deleting the elements. Till now we have added some of the elements, and now we are going to delete the elements by using my list dot remove. Okay, so 5 is going to be removed, so 1251. So that 5 will get removed, so 121 will be the value that is getting reflected back in the function call also. Okay, so now we will see how the memory environments are how it is getting affected, or how the values and all is copied to parameter from the uh, argument to parameter, how it is copied. Let us see now. Okay, so initially in the global environment, that is list 1 is pointing to 38,100. Initially it is having only one value, that is one only referred by this list 1. Okay, see here, one only referred by this list 1. 316 is the address. The actual list 1's address is 38,100 is the memory address of value 1, that is 316. List 1 of 0 holds the memory address. List 1 of 0, no, it is holding the address of this value 1, that is 316 is holded by list 1 of 0. Okay, now this is the state when till lines 10 and 11 of code main is executed. Okay, now at line number 12 the function called my function 3 gets called. Argument list 1 is received in parameter my list. So my list is now updated with value 1. So both the list 1 and my list point to same memory address 38,100. Environment remains the same for lines 1, 2, 3. Okay, so when it goes to line number 4, okay, now we are going to add append on item, that is append 2 bits executed. So 2 is list 1 of 1 is created, my list of 1 is created. Now also list 1 is pointing to the same 38,100 only. So it is updated with its whatever changes we are making for the parameter my list, it is getting updated in the same address only. So now list 1 of 1 also will be having the value 2. Okay, now after executing line number 5, it is going to be added with another two elements, that is 5 comma 1. So my function 3 will be added with 5 comma 1. So 5 is now indicated in the index, my list of 2, and then my list of 3 will be having the value 1. Okay, so 1 is now referred how many times? One value 1 is referred to 2 times. So 2 reference count, because 1 2 5 1 is the list of elements. So 1 2 5 1. So initially also 1, finally also 1. So 2 times initially also. This is my list of 0 is indicated pointed to 1, and that my list of 3 also is pointing to 1 only. Okay, so 2 reference count. The other two elements are 2 and 5. So 1 2 5 1. So 1 is repeated how many times? 2 times. So now after line number 7, that is after executing remove of 5, okay, not s, okay, my list dot remove of 5 removes element 5 from the list, and thus only 3 elements are left in the list of my list. So my list will be having now 1 2 1 1 only. So the third my list of 3 is going to be removed here. So after we complete that local environment, that is my function 3 gets over. Okay, so now the control will be returned to local environment will be removed, and that list 1 is still referencing the address 38,100. So whatever changes till now we have made it, that is going to be updated in list 1. Understood? So now next example code for passing mutable type value to a function. So mutable type value to a function and assigning parameter to a new value or variable. So we are going to assign a parameter, even same mutable type. Okay, but we are going to assigning a new list to a parameter. Okay, so mutable type here we are taking as list only. So for that list, in the function itself or in the subprogram itself, we are going to assign with a new list. So what will happen? Let us check. Okay, so uh, line number 1 to 6 are 1 to 8 are called a subprogram or function. 9 to 12 are main program. So initially this ninth line only is getting executed. So list 1 will be having the value 1 comma 4, that is 2 elements only is there in that list. So before function call 1 comma 4 will get printed. Now function call is made at line number 11. So now it is going to this line number 1. So my list is updated with what? List 1 arguments. So 1 comma 4 is copied to my list. So 1 comma 4 is printed here at line number 3. Okay. When it comes to line number 4 only, new is assigned with, new is one type of list which is having 3 comma 5 as an element. Now that new is copied to, assigned to, okay, my list. So this is an important statement here, that new is the list, that is new list which is going to be assigned to 3 comma 5. So we are assigning a parameter. What is the parameter here? My list is the parameter. See, look at here, this function my list is the parameter. So this my list parameter is going to be assigned to new value now or new variable now. See here, new variable is assigned here. Okay, and this my list now it is going to be updated, appended with what? 6. So initially that my list is assigned with new, having only two values, that is 3 comma 5. Now after adding this, appending this 6, so what will be the my list value? My list will be updated with 3 comma 5 comma 6. So after assigning this fifth statement after line number 5, okay, whatever we have received from the argument, that is 1 comma 4, will not be retained back at line number 5, because this my list is pointing to some other address and this new list is pointing to some other address. Okay, this is another list, this is another list. So both are referring to some other address. So after returning, so this my list, that is 3 comma 5 comma 6 only is going to be printed here in this list 1. Okay, let us see, after adding this my list is printing 3 comma 5 comma 6. So when this fully removed, okay, now my list will not be pointing to the old address. Now it will be pointing to the new address only. So it will be printing 3 comma 5 comma 6 only. Sorry, that will not get reflected. Okay, it will not get reflected. So inside the function 3 comma 5 comma 6, After the function is removed, see this fully removed, no? So new also will get removed. So my list now will be pointing to the old address only. So that is the changes we are having in the mutable type. So until we are not assigning a value or variable to a parameter, okay, whatever changes we are making, that is getting reflected back in the mutable type, that is in list. Okay, but if you are assigning the value, okay, that whatever changes we are making, that will not get reflected in the mutable list, that is in the argument, that will not get reflected. So did not get reflected to the main. So when you are assigning any value or variable to a parameter in the function for a mutable type, that will not get that will not get reflected back in the main statement. So this difference only you need to understand from these some examples, from these examples. Okay, so we need to expect that the past value is of mutable type, that is a list, isn't this is unexpected. The past value is of mutable type, a list, right? But still the changes made in the function do not get reflected back to the main. Why? Because we will find out. First we have a look at memory environments created for the above code. Okay, so now if you look at this example, initially list one is pointing to the address 44116, that is it's having only two elements, 1 comma 4 only. So list one of 0 is pointing to 1 and list one of 1 is pointing to 4. Then at line number 10, my function 4 is called, that is list 1 is now received in the parameter my list. So my list is now pointing to 40116 only. Both will be pointing to same address only. Okay. So now after assigning new at line number 4, a new list uh, by the name new is created, for which new memory is allotted at 50110. So new is now pointing to 50110. That is also having two elements. That is which two elements are assigned to that new is having 3 and 5, 3 and 4. Okay, so new is assigned with 3 and 5, not 3 and 4. 3 and 5 is assigned to new. So now newly we are going to add 6 also, we are going to append 6 also. That 6 also is going to be updated here in this place. Okay, so now new of 2, new of 2 will be having the value 6. Okay, so now after this local environment, that is my function 4, fully gets over, when it is returning to main program, okay, this is going to be removed. That is new is going to be fully removed. So now list one of 0 and 1 only will be remain there in the uh, main program. Okay, so it will not be getting reflected with the new value. So whatever value we have changed in the updated in the subprogram, that is not getting reflected back in the main program argument. Okay, so that is the thing you need to understand here. So whenever a parameter is assigned with, what is parameter here, my list is the parameter which is there in the local environment, that is in a subprogram we have seen this my list parameter. So this my list parameter, whenever it is assigned with a new variable, okay, or a value, so whatever changes we are making in the my list, that will not get reflected back in the list one at the end when it is assigned with some value or parameter variable. Okay, so now we are going to see summarize the mutable behavior here. Okay, so if P is not assigned, P means what? Parameter is not assigned any new name or different data type value, then changes in P are performed in the place and get reflected back to, if we are not assigning anything, so whatever changes we are making in the parameter, that is getting reflected back to the main. Okay, but if P is assigned a new name or a different data type value, if it is assigned to P, what will happen? So it will not get reflected back to the main. So these are the differences you need to understand. This mutable behaviors, mutable types behaviors with functions. That means we can say that changes in mutable, immutable types, whatever changes we are making in immutable type, that are not reflected in the caller function at all. So this is for immutable type. And for mutable type, if you are making any changes, okay, in mutable types are reflected in the caller function, if its name is not assigned a different variable or a data type. Okay, But in a caller function, if its name is assigned a different variable or a data type, it will not get reflected in the caller function. Okay, so these are the two points you need to understand under mutable type of value when you are passing from the calling function to caller, that is called function. Okay, so these are the things we have discussed in the under this lesson, Python working with functions. Okay, so with this we will end up this chapter. So your chapter is getting over here. So you need to revise all the topics whatever we have covered from the beginning under this working with Python. Uh, that is working with functions in Python. Then only you will be clear with all the topics. So go through once again. Thank you, students.